So I made that first Guild of Guardians video, and the first thing everyone said is, what do I think about the game? Do I think it's good? Do I think it's going to last a long time? Do I think it has legs? And am I enjoying playing the game? Well, in this video, I'm going to go through all of that and more. Firstly, for some better context, I have played Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, Raid Shadow Legends, and AFK Arena all religiously at one point or another. The one I played the most was definitely Galaxy of Heroes, though I am a big Star Wars fan. So Guild of Guardians does live up to them for me. Obviously, it doesn't have Star Wars characters in it, which hurts, I know, but it also has enough nuance that it doesn't feel like the exact same game as any three of these. Actually, it takes some elements from all of them, which I think is quite interesting. And I'll break down my thoughts into 5 key areas. Firstly, the core dungeon gameplay loop, probably the thing that's the most different from all of these games that I've played before. The visuals and graphics, the crafting gameplay loop, the overall monetization and progression feel, and the Web3 mechanics and how they fit into the overall system, which does go a little bit hand in hand with the monetization feel of the game. So as I talk through this, I am going to be playing the game to help give you guys a good visual representation of the game, different things I'm talking about, and just if you might like to play it yourself. If it's too distracting or it doesn't really work that well, please leave a comment. I would love to hear your feedback. But let's jump into it. So the dungeons aren't perfect, okay? But they are easily the most exciting part of Guild of Guardians. Firstly, on that note, I have one minor negative, which you'll see in just a moment. And that is that they just feel too slow. Now, they're not nearly as bad on the stage 1 of an area as opposed to the stage 2 and stage 3, but it just feels a little bit too slow. All of the loading screens between the rooms, the time it takes to select your runes, and all of the in-between rooms as well. Things like the campsite healing tree and all the rest of it. Although visually, they're all really great. They just slow down the game so much, it makes it a little bit harder for me to enjoy. But now let's get on to the positives. The UI, visual feel of the skills, and everything else is top tier. It's actually way better than I ever thought it was going to be. Nothing ever feels overly confusing, except when you're trying to see what buffs your opponent has, which I'll show you in just a second. Besides that, it is actually highly intuitive. And I have a lot of trouble with these sorts of games on mobile. It takes me a long time to figure out what's going on, but I never really felt that way with Guild of Guardians, which is a huge credit to the team. On that, the skills themselves don't take too long to cast, unlike in Champions Arena, which was freaking awful, and they don't get old too quickly either. Although I haven't experienced heaps of enemy variation just yet, because I'm only on the first area, the roguelike component of the game does make every encounter feel quite unique. They often have different benefits and bonuses as you're coming against them, and then you've got to make sure that your team can handle that. You can also swap out your squad during the dungeon. So there's a lot of different ways to play around with this game and incorporate strategy into it, which I really love. I have a lot of trouble playing games that don't make me engage my brain, let's put it that way. And they do a really good job here of being both casual friendly and having some great depth to it. You also need to choose what room you take on and how it fits into the broader dungeon narrative you might face. For example, you could get extra rewards going down one path, but then it's going to be a little bit harder for you to fight that boss at the end because you're going to take more damage. It also feels like going off auto mode has a big impact in the outcome. Right now, I'm just going to be playing on auto mode, but if you go off, you can cast the skills when you need to, particularly helpful when you're using healing abilities. Like I said, there's one of these in-between rooms. I feel like this could just be like a menu screen so you can get it done really quickly. You got to watch the animation on the walk there and stuff. It's quite a minor thing, but I would love for this sort of thing to get upgraded a little bit, but it's more my personal preference. So on to the next topic. The visuals and graphics in the game are awesome, but I must disclaim that they are not for everyone. That is very important, okay? What I care about most when it comes to art direction is that the visuals are distinct to the IP and they have consistency, as well as not being a full copy of another game. I can't think of any really good examples, and 8-bit examples are probably really bad. But just like anything that looks like it's basically Fortnite is probably should have its own art direction. Let's put it that way. Although the overall art direction of Guild of Guardians isn't really my particular style, I love a lot of different art styles. This one is not really one of them. It is coherent, artistically vibrant, colorful, and very well crafted. And I can respect the work and the craftsmanship that's gone into all of the different assets in this. They've done a really excellent job. Even though I don't love this art style personally, they've done a really, really good job. So without this, Guild of Guardians would have actually fallen really flat. It's important they got this right so they can separate themselves out in the broader mobile market. And it's also a clear defining trait that separates it to the other games of this genre as well. It doesn't look like anything like AFK Arena, Raid Shadow Legends. It doesn't look anything like Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes either. And I would say that Raid and Star Wars actually look a little bit similar to each other. And so you can see that a lot of the gacha style games on mobile tend to look a little bit similar to each other, but Guild of Guardians has done really well separating itself from the pack, and I commend them for that. It's one of my favorite things about this product, even though again, hasn't typically been my thing, but I'm warming up to it very quickly. Let's put it that way. So the next thing we'll talk about is the crafting gameplay loop. To do that, I'll just quickly finish this off and I'll jump back to the thing. Quick little go. You actually exit these whenever you want, and then return back into them and continue like you never left off, which I think is a really nice touch. So if I jump back here. So I haven't used every aspect of the crafting loop yet, but it is very well thought out, very intuitive, and has a decent amount of depth once you start to get to know it. You have these little material things and you can activate them to send items into your inventory. Most of the time, you're getting these standard materials. We're also getting these higher upgrade materials. When you go into the forge, you can click into it, go into the advanced mode, and then craft some of these other items. I'm actually going to craft some broken boots in this case and see what comes of it. You can see that I get a legendary item. You can either get epic or legendary items via this method, or with the normal forge mode, you're actually going to get one of the uncommon or rare items, which have different sort of stats, upgrades, all the rest of it. But it's really intuitive and really simple. And not only that, but later on, you actually merge these different crafting materials together and really build up your stash of materials, gear, crafting upgrades, and all the rest of it. And as I said, the UI for this is really simple. It's really intuitive, and I had no trouble picking it up. And as I said in the past, I've had a lot of trouble picking up these sorts of systems with other games. It also adds a secondary progression path, which is crucial in this game. If you don't have your daily summoning stones, you can still use your time to improve and craft new gear to also increase the strength of your squad, maybe almost more than if you were to summon new guardians and enlighten them. You can just make better gear and improve them that way, and it's going to have a deep impact into how you go throughout the game, which I think is really awesome, because what it means is you're not trying to wait for your 3 daily summoning stones in the game. You still have something you can do. You can still play the game for longer periods of time. It's better for retention. It's better for enjoyment. It's just overall a better practice. Now, and the next topic is quite big. The monetization and progression in Guild of Guardians. Firstly, the progression feels great, even though there is eventually a wall you will hit where it's a little bit hard to surpass it. Do really well with your crafting and you won't have too many issues. Now, monetization itself feels overall really great. And I've played some god-awful monetization setups. Galaxy of Heroes was one of them. It is one of the slowest progressing games I have ever played in my life. And some people love that, and I enjoyed it. I played it for 2+ years probably. But it's greedy. Let's put it that way. It's greedy. And some of the things you have to pay for are like $100 if you want to pay. Like it's a lot. A lot of the payments in this are quite cheap. They're quite effective, and you get a lot of great stuff from them. So overall, compared to other games of this genre, monetization is fantastic. I'm actually cannot be happier with it right now. The other thing is you also don't feel like you have to ascend your guardians to NFTs to get the most out of the game. So anyone can play free to play, and even if they don't want to be competitive, you need to pay a little bit probably to be as competitive as you can be. But even if you don't want to be competitive, you will still be able to get the most out of this game free to play without a doubt, which is absolutely awesome. Not only that, but you get heaps of energy every day and can do 24 dungeons or challenges, and 2 endless runs. So there's a lot of content for you to play every single day. And although it's as grindy as you might expect, it's actually not as grindy as some of the other games I've played. So it's actually quite good. It's well balanced in progression and monetization, which is something I do not say lightly. I do take this sort of stuff quite seriously sometimes. You either monetize or you don't monetize, but I feel like Guild of Guardians did a really nice balance here where it's still free to play friendly, and the monetization isn't too savage. So very, very nice. Now, the last topic is Web3 aspects. Now, the thing with Web3 in a gacha style game or a dungeon hunter or whatever you want to call this game is they often lead to huge pay to win systems and a large imbalance of fun in the gameplay, which I'm very wary of. And really no game is going to get this perfect. That is what it is. In this game, they mostly only affect the earning opportunities. All of the earning opportunities come from the player versus player leaderboards and or matches. And really that's where the NFTs and the tokens and all the extra money you spend is really going to come into it. So it really affects those earning opportunities and the competitive side of things rather than the other aspects of the game. But on the bright side, it's actually relatively cheap to ascend the Guardians you collect for free. Say you manage to get a really awesome legendary Guardian in a summoning stone, then you can ascend it for $7.50 Australian dollars, which is very cheap in the Web3 space. To buy an NFT of that kind, like one of the founders ones, they're quite special cosmetically and everything, it might cost you hundreds of dollars. So to be able to do that for $7 is pretty sweet. Now, those who are spending loads to buy things on the secondary market are going to be progressing faster and probably getting to the top of those leaderboards. But everyone else who just wants to play the game mostly for free, maybe spend $7 here and there, they're going to be able to get to the top of the leaderboard probably eventually as they're just slowly grinding away. It's not going to be as fast, but they're going to be able to do it, which is a really fantastic way to approach the Web3 systems in the game. Out of any Web3 I've seen, this has one of the better blends, in similar ways that Parallel is doing these systems quite well, where anyone can get all the really good cards for free and even play against those that own all the NFT cards and all the rest of it and win. They just can't earn from having all the free cards. So there's a really great balance of free to play and Web3 elements that Guild of Guardians is doing really well here as well. Now, the last thing I should talk about is, do I actually enjoy playing Guild of Guardians? And that is a great question. Oh, I forgot to turn on sound of the game. That's fine. That is a really great question. So the short answer is yes. I play every chance I get. Okay. It's just that simple. The longer answer is that the slow speed of completing new dungeons is slowly causing me to become a little bit disinterested. That's just my honest opinion there. Simply put, when I personally play Guild of Guardians, I'm doing so for 10 to 15 minutes at a time, or sometimes even less if I'm doing it in between sets at the gym. A weird place to play Guild of Guardians, I know, but I did it and I actually quite liked it. So being able to put this on full auto mode through the runes and everything else in a dungeon would be a massive fit for my personal lifestyle. All that being said, when I do have the time to sit down and go through my next adventure battles, it is a fantastic experience and I have a lot of fun playing. The game is easily on par with its Web 2 competitors, and I look forward to seeing how the Guild's gameplay matches up to all this. If you like this and want to give it a shot yourself, please enter my referral code. I'll have it pinned in the first comment down below, and I will also put it in the description. It is capital WT, little SXD, 8, capital V, and then 5. I really appreciate your support. If you like this video, if you want to see more impressions on the game, please leave a comment down below. Have a good one, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe.